Hey, this show is about power. Stopping power, not horsepower. We're just going to be putting brakes on Creampuff here on the front. I already done the back. I forgot to get any video of that, so stay tuned and we'll show you how to do the front brakes on two-wheel drive Squarebody. Hey everybody, welcome back to Squarebody Stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me. Today we're going to be putting brake pads on the front of Creampuff here. While we're in there, going to repack the bearings and new axle or wheel seals. I'll take the rotors down to the local parts house, get them turned while we're at it, and hopefully we'll get them to stop a little bit better. Okay, I spared you guys from the whole watching me take off the wheels and tires and blah blah blah. I've also got the lid off the master cylinder. That way when you compress these brake calipers, you're going to have fluid coming from your caliper back up through your system up to the master cylinder. You got to take the lid off or you're going to be fighting against the pressure of the lid if it seals up good. Also, I drained a little bit of fluid out of the master cylinder. That way when I'm collapsing these pistons inside these calipers and that fluid goes back up through there, that way it doesn't overflow and make a big mess. So first thing I do is I've got a nice F-clamp, which makes it real handy. I clamp it on the outside of the piston and on the pad on there, and just screw it in. I've already got this one collapsed, but you clamp it a little bit and go a little bit more, give it some time to relieve the pressure, and then once you get it completely collapsed, you can back off the clamp. Now if you don't have a clamp, I've always used a screwdriver, and you can pry against it's got a hole in the back side of this caliper here, and you can just pry against that and hang it on the top side of the rotor and just pry real nice and easy. Just keep pressure on it. It'll slowly start moving unless you got a bad caliper. And if your calipers are locked up, they won't move. But that's how I collapse the piston. That way you got plenty of room. Brake pads are just kind of flopping around in there. Take the ratchet and a 3/8 Allen head, Allen key, well, it's an Allen socket, or just a regular 3/8 Allen wrench. Take these caliper bolts loose. They may be a little bit tight. These, looks like someone's put new calipers on this not too long ago. Everything's breaking loose pretty easy. I've already got the driver's side done. That way I can have everything I knew I needed. Now if your bolts got a lot of miles on them, this end will be wore down a little bit and you'll need to replace your bolts. But these look fairly new. They're not got a whole lot of mileage on them, so they're in pretty good shape. And you got to bust your elbow at least once. Now once you get your bolts out, your caliper's loose, and you pull it out. But before you do that, take some zip ties or a coat hanger or something, wrap around the A-arm I just usually take a couple zip ties and loop one around the A-arm. Get another one started in there. Kind of tricky. Zip tie that up out of the way, because you don't want to leave it hanging off the hose, because it could actually break the hose down on the inside, separate it. Then when you go put it back together, your brakes will either not engage, or they won't release because you get a bad hose, or your hose could just rupture. So never let the caliper just hang off the hose. That pad the outer pad just floats in there. The inner pad has got this clip that goes on, it clips on the outside of your brake pad. That slides into that caliper piston that holds that in. Now, these pads got quite a bit of wear on. They're still got a few miles left, but I just don't like the way they feel. They fade pretty quick, and they just don't have a whole lot of holding power. So now, take your cheap screwdriver. I just buy the cheap screwdrivers from Walmart or wherever, because I use them as pry bars and chisels and whatever else I want to, because they're mine and that's what I would use them for. Take your dust cap off. There's a cotter pin. Well, it's supposed to be a cotter pin. This one ain't got a cotter pin. Might be. Well, I guess I won't show you how to pull a cotter pin out. And normally what I do is the legs that come through, I'll bend them down, straighten them out, and just clip them off with a pair of dikes. And then I'll get a hold of the head of the cotter pin with my dikes, because it'll kind of bite into it. Just don't cut it off. Just get a good grip on it and start working it out. I can't show you that because someone didn't put a cotter pin back in it. It's an 1 1/16 wrench. You can use whatever you can to get this nut. Shouldn't be all that tight. I've taken some apart, they were just finger tight. Take that loose. There'll be a washer. And the washer's got a tang on the inside that slides into the keyway machined into the spindle. That way this washer don't spin with the bearing. And that way your nut doesn't back off in case your cotter key fails, or you fail to put a cotter key in it. And be careful when you're pulling this out, because that outer taper bearing will just come right out. Looks to be in pretty good shape. You want to check for pitting or golding or anything on the rollers. Then you slide it off, and you can check out your outer bearing race. It looks pretty good. You'll have an axle or a wheel seal right here. You can pry it, pop it out, and then your inner bearing will come out. You inspect it too, and after I get these taken apart, get the bearing out, get it cleaned up, it'll be time to take it down to the parts house and have them turned. That's about all there is to pulling a rotor off. Boom, there's your seal. And the inner bearing. Whoever done this before didn't get too carried away on the grease either. I like to pack them full of grease. Alright, I got all my bearings and everything washed up, cleaned up, and solvent. Got my new seals. Kept my bearings separated as far as left and right. I also marked my rotors. Just scribed a little R and an L. That way I didn't get them mixed up, because you don't want to put other bearings on, or swap bearings in races. You got to keep the same bearings on the same race because they're broke in together. So everything's all washed up with solvent, cleaned up, ready to pack the bearings. I used to hate packing bearings. It's just such a mess. Then I realized if I put rubbers on, it's a lot easier to clean up. One of the few times I like to wear gloves. So you just take your grease, get you a dab of it in the palm of your hand, and you start just kind of scraping the edge and pressing down. And you'll see it just kind of work your way around. You keep pressing on it until you start seeing it squeeze up through the from the outer race. Let me get around here and show you. You see the way it's squeezing out right there? Let's see if I can do this here. I'm not sure if I'm coordinated enough to do this. Kind of a pain. My hand's gone full retard. See the way it kind of squeezes it up through there? Anyways, you get the idea. Of course, that was the big one. That's the inner bearing. Let's go ahead and set it in there. I'm going to go ahead and finish packing the rest of my bearings. Then we'll move on. I like to get a good blob of grease on the inside of the hub too before I put that inner one in. Can't have too much grease in there. Alright, now we got our bearings all packed. Put our seals in. Pretty simple. Now you can be fancy and use a seal installer that holds it all nice and steady, but I just use a hammer. Kind of get it started. Work around. Sure that's really nice on the camera sound. There we go. And another thing I like to do is once I get the seal in there is I don't put gloves back on, but just pack some grease in between the seal and the bearing. That way you got plenty of grease in there. And alright, I got everything all set up. Put the rotor back on. Now you guys can do it how you want. Not saying my way is the only way or the right way. I don't know. But I like to pack as much grease in there as I can. That way, don't have to worry about it going dry, or less likely for any moisture to get in there. So, put that on there. Oh, I forgot my washer. washer. Put the washer. You don't need to get them super tight. There's no torque. But when they're used bearings like we've got here, where they've already run in together, everything's already seated. Really, if you go finger tight, you can take the wrench. Actually, on these bearings, it's better just to have just a hair loose than too tight. If you have it too tight, there's no room for that grease to be inside or be between that race and that roller. If you have a little bit of space, then there's room for that grease to be in between. There we go. Yeah, good enough. Don't forget your cotter pin, which I got to get them. Alright, I got the cotter pin. Hopefully I've got holes that. May have to move your nut just a little bit. Find the hole. See, right now, you've noticed me going back and forth, back and forth. If I go to the next one, it's just way too tight. So I'll back it off and then go to the one that's a little bit looser. Off the edge on that side, try and beat it in. Good there. And I'm going to pack some more grease in here. I like lots of lube. Maybe put a little bit in this cap. Now go around the edge so you're not mashing in the center of your cap. Now it's time for the brake pads. You gotta put this little clip on. Take the clip off the old pad. For some reason my new brake pads didn't come with new clips. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But stick it back on there. And that will clip into your caliper. This other one stay in there. Get the hold of it. Snip your zippy tie. I put a little dab of grease. I make special grease for this, but I just usually use the high temp grease. It'll be fine. Now I put a little dab of grease on the end of it, but on the threads I'll use some anti-sneeze. That way, next time you take it apart, it may not be so hard. Alright, now this side's done. Once you get both sides back together, don't forget to push your brake pedal a couple times before you start it up. Try to go anywhere, because you'll have to bring the piston and that caliper back in. I've actually forgot to do that a couple times. Took a shop door out. So learn from my mistakes. And then once you do that, then refill your reservoir, and you should be good to go. Shouldn't have to bleed the brakes, because you're not opening up the hydraulic system. You're just pushing the fluid back up in there. Make sure your rotors are clean. I got a few fingerprints on there, but it's not a whole lot of grease. I'll clean them off with some brake clean or something. And put your wheels, tires back on, and go take it for a test drive. Now we got all the brakes done and shop's cleaned up. I'm gonna take Creampuff for a little test drive and kind of break in the pads. Oh yeah. Alright, so here's how I usually break in of a new set of pads. I'll take off. Oh, my light fell. Whoa, I'm gonna wreck. Anyways, take off, get about 30 miles an hour, and real hard brake. Take off. Really hard brake. Do that 3 or 4 times. That kind of gets your pads and your rotors seated in together. Let's get going. Brakes are a whole lot better. A whole lot better. I was doing about 80. So I shifted into third. Yeah, the pedal feels a whole lot better. I like it. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. The brakes are working great now. That was time and money well spent. So I just want to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to this page. And just keep coming back. Hang out with me. Actually having a pretty good beard day. Blah, 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 blah.